everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, July 31st. We're on the Asian account, and as such, they've already run over to the next day. So on the Asian account, we did particularly poor, only making it up to rank 19, which will mean how we got a rank 16 package is kind of confusing, I guess. I got up to rank 16 and then lost all the way back down to 19. Rewards, not great. 25 dust, 1 gold card, and of course the card back. So, one of the collectibles games I have that I'm playing on my smartphone, Destiny Child, has these collab characters that are supposedly never coming back. I'm really hoping at some point they implement a system where you can actually get those guys, because the idea of never ever being able to have a 100% collection is irritating. It is somewhat the same, I would say, for the card backs in Hearthstone. We are at that point, in my opinion, where Hearthstone could easily start saying, for an amount of dust, we'll let you craft the old card backs from 5 years ago. One a month, we will start rolling out those old cards. You're not, I don't think, going to really piss off the people who are playing from day one. So I'm just turning these gold cards into dust, so I have more dust. Definitely not in any real position to think about actually having doing a major card pack opening or crafting a bunch of stuff with dust. But the next expansion is coming, and to announce the cards, they did a weird Asian cosplayers basically video, live action video that I assume probably plays a little bit better in Asian countries. To me, it just felt weird that you were going to live action this when, in particular, they had focused so much on doing that Disney Pixar-esque animation to do their advertisements. It feels like there should be more consistency, but perhaps the person who was going to enforce the consistency in Blizzard has left Blizzard at this point, and now they're just bouncing around different ideas. So I want to destroy minions. That'll be easy enough to do. Win 5 games, somewhat easy to do, and win 2 games. So if I get 5 games, I definitely get win 2 games, and so then that's just going to leave us to play whatever we want. The Tavern Ball is new, but we'll do that on Monday. Man, I got the same glitch twice, so I wonder if that's just happening to everybody. So let's just stick with Paladin, play ranked, and work our way up. Once all the news is done, that'll basically be the end of today, unless I don't have the daily quest done, at least 2 of them, which shouldn't be too hard to get done. So TechRaptor has an article here. Epic has enabled cloud saving for some games and more to follow. It's really not hard to implement cloud saving. Really not that hard. Depending on how you do it, there are probably better ways to do it. This is just another example of the Epic Store not being ready for prime time. They had a whole year to make the Epic Store work and have features that don't exist or don't work. So clearly they were not ready. And we really wouldn't have hurt the Epic Store, I think, if they had taken their Fortnite success money, put it in the bank, and put it in some tax shelter, worked for a year or 2 to make a competitor to Steam, have a competitor to Steam that was close to feature parity or 100% at feature parity when it launched, and then launched 2 years from now. Like, a year from now, 2 years from now. That would have been so much better. Let's see. Alright. No, I'm just gonna wait till next turn. Let's see. Moving on, Gematsu has an article, Code Vein Behind the Scenes Developer Diary Part 3. So here we have some pencil sketches showing the height levels of different characters, so that you can always get the relative heights when animating them together. A collection of anime-esque vampire girls, I assume, is all there. These developer diaries, though, are basically Japanese people talking, with maybe some videos being shown of the art style here. Remember that Code Vein is the spiritual successor to Bloodborne and Dark Souls, Demon Souls, but it is definitely also going to a very anime aesthetic, which may limit its appeal to the Western world. Oops. Well, I guess that works just as well as anything. So you can look up that article if you're interested. Next we have a game on Steam called Games, G period, A period, etc, etc. And this clearly is a low effort troll game collection of things for 99 cents. English only, no achievements. It's not even an achievement game, it's just a straight up garbage troll game. So of course that's not making it to the fall list. TechRaptor has an article. Phoenix Point is delayed to December and a new backer build will be arriving soon. It's an upcoming strategy game. I haven't heard anything about it. But then again, I don't really follow Kickstarted backer style games. I want to see it when it's ready to actually be shown.
Follow the rules. Reporting for duty.
So, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about that. TechRaptor has another article. Re-Legend Steam Edition lets you capture magical monsters, August 2019. Think we've already kind of seen this game. It's supposed to be a Pokemon style game, style clone that maybe is good, maybe isn't good. It's really what the follow list was built for. Could be a lot more Stardew Valley than Pokemon. Inherently in Pokemon games, if I'm recalling correctly, you don't do a ton of fishing, a ton of farming, a ton of shopping or dating or anything like that. You're mostly fighting Pokemon. And so, unlike Stardew Valley where you are mostly farming, there's a big difference there in what the minute-to-minute game flow would be. And I'm from the perspective that if I was going to play something that's a Pokemon clone, it would be some kind of fighting element of some sort that I would want to see, not a farming element. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. For the PS4, Concrete Genie launches October 8th in the Americas and October 9th in Europe. I don't know what Concrete Genie is though. And even the video here is confusing me. Oh, this is that game that, if I'm recalling correctly, I don't think anybody has liked it, even in the pre-launch shows. You are platforming and you have a magic brush that graffitis things and you're fighting monsters. This game is clearly not getting a lot of coverage, and I think it's probably extremely short and extremely uninteresting. It's going to be sold for $29.99 US dollars, so it's not even a full price product.
Time runs out on me.
I will say though that there is a decent chance that I'm totally wrong about that and people actually do like that game. It visually looks different, so there might be something to that idea. It's really a matter of whether it can tell a good story, and you know, a lot of times you'll have something like We Happy Few that looks like it would be a interesting or good story, and then turns out to not be that interesting or that good.
Converting stored energy.
Alright.
Let's go.
Last warning. Reporting for duty. To battle.
Next we have a game on Steam called Morphe's Law, which seems like your custom generator. Morphe's Law Remorphed is the full name. Seems like a custom generator of characters, and you have guns, I think, that either cause the body parts of the enemies you're shooting to grow or shrink, and that seems to affect things. Which, frankly, this is just too weird of a concept, frankly, as a game. So I don't think people would really want to play that as a first-person shooter. It's just too weird. The idea that you're doing well, so all of a sudden you're getting larger and larger, thus becoming an easier target, just means the games would probably get balanced out and take forever. This is a free-to-play game. Let's see. But also you can pay $19.99, it seems. So you can get the demo, or you can pay $20. And it seems like the demo gives you most, if not everything. So clearly this is a game that I don't think they think is going to succeed, or very possibly it's already failed once and this is the second release of that game.
Reporting for duty. Job done.
As a multiplayer focused game, which is really what it is, it's not something that I think I need to cover, so I'm not going to put it on the follow list. It has a GDC Best in Play award. I've never seen this award before, so we might start seeing more games with that award, as if that means anything. And yeah, I could see a game like this being fun at GDC for 5 minutes to an hour, but I don't think it's going to have mass audience appeal. Moving on, we actually have a decent amount of games left, considering where we are. We have a game on Steam here called A Short Hike, which I would have sworn I've seen this too. Looks kind of like it. It's a half action platforming game with some resource material gathering too. Like, I wouldn't really call it a Minecraft style game, but it does seem like you have to go certain places to collect certain things. Maybe it's a game that's really committed to not having any violence in it. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any fighting or anything. $7.19 discounted, and English full audio, a reasonable amount of achievements with it. Rated very positively. I'll put this on the follow list. This might be kind of a kid-friendly style game that might work well enough, and Frankly, I could probably just put it on the wish list right now, but I'll wait just to see if something happens.
Converting stored energy.
Let's see. Next game we have on Steam is called Everyone Goes Home, which looks like a low effort maze simulator game. Let's see. Visually unappealing, concept wise unappealing. Yeah, this just looks like garbage. It's discounted to $3.19, English only. It says it has full audio.
Converting stored energy.
Photonic perks.
TechRaptor has an article here. The Witch's Love Diary has arrived on Steam. This clearly is a visual novel from Sekai Project. I think we already looked at this game, and they had to put a correction in it because they didn't even know what they're talking about, clearly.
Let me think.
So, yeah. What's slightly interesting about this TechRaptor article is it seems you can buy the game directly uncensored from Dimpasoft, DNPASOFT, or you can get the uncensored patch from Dimpasoft for free. So really just kind of depends on whether you want it on your Steam library or not. And if I'm gonna have games, I personally would want them on my Steam library. It is going to be a question about a lot of these romance visual novels, these adult visual novels, how much entertainment they really have if they are in that censored element. And usually I would say I think they do have a level of entertainment even in their censored form, because it is mostly dialogue and mostly what, and so far at least YouTube has not been extremely picky about what you're talking about in certain ways, although I say that now, that may not be true 5 minutes from now. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Chat Aid, which looks like it is a text-based game hidden as a terribly animated chat service, chat messenger. It looks like garbage. It's 59 cents discounted, English and French. It's gifted and bundled with tons of other games, which tells you that it's a developer / publisher that's intentionally just flooding Steam with garbage games. Next, we have a game on Steam called You Don't Have Time, which this seems like it might be an escape the room puzzle game that's somewhat animated. Although this might also just be a lot like Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, with the difference being you're inside a room with all the buttons versus the bomb just being in front of you and Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. There might be something to this, maybe not. It's $3.99 discounted, English and French. I'm gonna put this on the fall list and see if people like to play it. The aspect of having to turn around and look behind you is gonna be a factor, I would guess. I would heavily suspect people are not gonna be happy about that.
Follow the rules. Move quickly.
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Bear With Me, The Lost Robots, which seems to be a complete collection or a renaming of the point-and-click adventure series of Bear With Me, because it wasn't called The Lost Robots before. So let's look at this publisher. They still have a game here called Bear With Me and Bear With Me Episode 1, 2, and 3. So, in some weird way, it seems like they have moved on to a sequel. They're saying it's an all-new prequel chapter featuring the story characters from the game. So, are you supposed to play this before you play the rest of Bear With Me? What is the complete what does this complete collection upgrade give you? Let's see. Features all previously released episodes, as well as the new prequel, The Lost Robots. So you have to buy The Lost Robots, then buy this DLC to then get the games that came out before this, the 3 chapters that came out before this. This is confusing, to say the least, on just how you're even going to wishlist this. And I think I will wishlist it, or at least follow list it, but it is crazy. Well, I missed 2 hits there. Yeah, and I'm not even 100% sure that Bear With Me is super well received. Let's see. The free episode 1 is rated very positively. Episode 3 is rated positively with 18 reviews. I don't even remember when episode 3 came out. Episode 2 came out on February 15th, 2017, and it's rated positive too. Episode 3 came out October 5th, 2017. So it's been 2 years since episode 3 has come out, and I thought they were still working on finishing the story and coming out with more episodes. That was my understanding with the Bear With Me series, and that was in part the reason why I have not really tried to purchase it or collect it all. It seems like it's a decent point-and-click series, but weird in how it released itself episodically. Next we have a game on Steam called War Solution, which I assume this might be a troll game. No, it looks like it's a math game, even worse. Yeah, this is just a math game with some visual polish on it, which I guess I can kind of applaud that, although I don't know what the point of calling it War Solution is. You're battling against an AI doing math. You know what? It's early access, it's $1.99. It's English and Portuguese Brazil. If this is actually an educational software game, that actually could make some sense. I might be interested in spotlighting it, so I'll put it on the follow list and see how people really decide if they want to react with that or interact with that.
justice.
Could have summoned another paladin. Still have a decent number of games, so I'm never gonna see anything but relinquished now that every time I see Omega Assembly. I mean, I'm surprised more people aren't just talking about that and saying, hey, wait a minute, they just stole the design concept directly from Yu-Gi-Oh! This is not an homage, this is straight up concept there. See, I think this is where we're going to get into the troll games block of games that are on Steam.
Reporting for duty.
So we've got a troll game on Steam here called Streamer's Life. It's garbage, it's a simulator, it's full of memes and jokes. It's $9.99 English and Russian, no surprise there. It's a Russian troll game. It's got 34 achievements, which is more than it deserves for sure.
Have I got a bomb for you?
Maybe what happened, and this is a interesting theory, is that there was 3-4 publishers that were publishing terrible troll games on Steam, and maybe they finally got kicked off of Steam, and it's just taken a while for somebody new to come around and replace them, and that would explain the major increase in Russian troll games on Steam. Although frankly I really think it is just somehow government money is funding troll games on Steam for no good reason. It's just Russian government waste. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article here. Z-Boy Games announces Cthulhu Saves Christmas. I assume this is a continuation of the RPG game Cthulhu Saves the World, turn-based RPG. That I believe there's a digital version of it, but there might be a tabletop board game. I've heard people, or I've heard at least games journalists really love Cthulhu Saves the World. I've never been super interested in it in all the times I've seen it. Well, I should have merged with that. But whatever. We're looking for victories, and that got me a victory. So one more victory and 13 or 8 more minions destroyed, and we will have at least 2 daily quests done. Gamma Sutra has an article. Chrome continues to wind down Flash support with the latest browser update. Let's see. Now the plugin is enabled and the latest browsing has been changed. Last time I heard anything about Flash and Chrome, there was it would put like a sandbox version of Flash built in, and it wouldn't even play the elements unless you clicked a box. It quietly, now the newest version quietly disables Flash by default until users manually enable it in the browser setting. Following that, Chrome users will need to manually allow Flash each and every time they visit a web page that uses the plugin. Which, this is clearly an experiment on Chrome's part to say, we suspect that so few people actually care or want Flash to work that they won't go through this extra step to ever enable it. And I'm sure they're getting some kind of tracking data, usage data, that will confirm that.
Reporting for duty.
Gamma Sutra has an article. Automation enters administration and cancels Maverick's Proving Ground. Administration being the UK version of bankruptcy. So, Automation Games, they should say Automation Games because that's a tongue twister. Mavericks was initially unveiled back in 2017. Blah blah blah. I've never heard of it. So yeah, UK company is bankrupt for making a game that would have been a Fortnite PUBG clone, probably. That's not
Converting stored energy.
inherently surprising.
Photonic burst.
It's a little too early to blame any of this on Brexit, but it very possibly could be the beginnings of more incidences that are in part around the fears of Brexit.
Job's done.
Apparently Mavericks was being built using improbable spatial OS cloud-based computing tech, which spatial OS both I think had trouble because they were getting sued by Crysis or something. There's a massively multiplayer sandbox game called Worlds Adrift that was shut down that also used spatial OS, so maybe there is some indication that spatial OS itself is causing an issue. But the idea that you would have a game in development or a game that was already published using spatial OS, and if it's the core programming language, I still don't. That would just be a terrible license. I would never develop a game saying, I'm gonna pay for this license, I'm gonna have this license, this as irrevocable, uncancelable for a lifetime to make this game and sell this game. At no way would I do business with somebody that could potentially go out of business or change their terms and make it impossible for me to sell the product that I'm spending a lot of energy developing.
Job's done.
So yeah, I really don't see how spatial OS could be the problem, but maybe they are.
Be your field guide.
Next we have a game on Steam here called Mini Tecton, which looks like a low polygon, probably mobile game being ported to PC tank game. Visually it's unimpressive. They want $11.99 for no discount, and the English only is as far as the languages. That's not quality.
I wonder.
Alright. This. And this.
Access denied.
Next we have another troll game, an LGBTQ+ test, which is clearly just showing a bunch of random stolen images that are probably copyrighted, and then having you pick what label you would put upon them. But clearly this is just a troll game, as you see the video go and show PewDiePie and Pepe. 59 cents discounted, early access for no reason, bundled together with a bunch of other things, a ton of achievements, English only. Clearly just a troll game, not something that should be allowed on Steam. How this passes their straight up trolling complaint, the point where Steam said they were gonna not allow things that were straight up trolling, How that passes that barrier and that level of quality check is beyond me. Like, clearly, you only have to look at the game for 1 second to see it's a troll game. You only have to look at the name and know it's a troll game. So why was that approved? Why was that allowed in the first place? Valve really needs to put some speed bumps, some restrictions. They need to look at games before they come out. Just hire somebody to spend 10-20 seconds. That's all it takes to look at a game, and not just approve everything. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Sniper Commando Attack, which is weird because you're seemingly standing, running, and walking with a sniper gun, which is not really what you would do with a sniper gun. Otherwise, this just looks like a really low effort game. It's $1.99, English only, 7 achievements, which is too many. And at a certain point, it was a privilege to get achievements, but again, Valve has failed to really regulate any of that. It seems like the rules they have in place are easily manipulated or non-existent, and you can get achievements from day one.
I will fight with honor.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Road Rage Royale, which this seems to be like one of the old arcade steering wheel style games. That being said, it also seems like there's only one level, so that's not quality. Early access for $17.99. English says it has full audio, with one level, maybe a selection of 3 or 4 cars. That's not worth it. That is definitely not worth it. TechRaptor has an article. Crash Team Racing's second Grand Prix brings microtransactions despite past promises. So, let's see. Update. We've reached out to the ESRB about the addition of microtransactions and what they mean for the game and how it would require in-game purchases. Description would be add. Let's see.
Let me think.
They basically said they're not going to require them to put stickering in put a new sticker on there to say it has in-game options, which is just to say the ESRB is going to let them get away with it, with misleading everybody that buys the first printing of this game physically, or people who bought the game digitally and now are getting a patch that they don't appreciate and don't want.
Let's go!
To my side.
Let's see. I don't know if there's really anything more to really say about this, other than, like most games with microtransactions, you're gonna have to grind a lot to get everything with free currency, and very possibly you're not able to get everything. And this Crash Team Racing Nitro has gone from a game that I would have considered wanting to play to a game now I would never touch with, even if you paid me. It's like, I don't feel the need to play games full of microtransactions that I wasn't super interested in playing otherwise. There are a couple of games I'm playing with microtransactions, and in part I am considering leaving those games because of them.
Move quickly. Converting stored energy.
Let's go!
it's a disappointing situation, to say the least. Being lied to, being tricked, and seeing this happen constantly with games, that they'll get their initial releases and then have microtransactions crammed into them. It frankly gets down to the point where you should install a game and then never connect that console to the internet again, so it can't update. So you just get that day one version. See, next we have a game on Steam here called Tanks Endeavor, which is just a MS Paint graphics top-down tanks game. Twin stick shooter type game. Not interesting. $4.99. The prices are very high on some of these garbage games today, and these troll games. English with full audio, it says. Again, Valve needs to relabel what full audio means. Is that it needs to mean full voice acting. That's what it's supposed to mean in my mind. But it seems to other people it means nothing or anything, depending on their whims. Next we have a game on Steam called The Cross. It's actually called The Cross Horror Game, which tells me this is probably an extremely low effort asset flip game. Interesting for a horror game and an asset flip game that you're shooting a gun. Most low effort horror games don't bother to put any kind of gunplay mechanics. This looks like a game that would have been maybe alright in the 1990s, early 1990s, but by modern standards looks like garbage. It's $8.39 discounted, English only, English full audio and subtitles in this case.
Access denied.
Let's see. Let's go and kill this guy.
Reporting for duty.
So yeah, Cross Horror Games not making it to the follow list. Next we have a game on Steam called Mighty Gunvolt Burst. This looks like it's a platforming shooter game with a retro aesthetic, and because it's got anime girls in it, it's got an aesthetic that catches my attention a little bit better. It feels like this might be a half Contra, half like Mega Man style game, and I'm gonna put this on the follow list because I think I've heard of this series before. I think there's a series behind this, and this looks like something people might actually like. It's $8.99 now, and it supports a bunch of languages. Now, this is a game definitely that I would want to see people's reviews on, and probably need to do more of a research on to just figure out what this series is and where is it from. Let's see.
Move quick. Reporting for duty.
Next we have a game on Steam called Crystal Crisis from Nicholas. This is a
Free of that blasted
Puyo Tetris clone, I believe, with characters from several small independent developers fighting each other. The animations look pretty good. In fact, they're probably too good. They're probably distracting from the actual game. $19.99 is asking certainly a lot for no discount. Full Japanese audio and full English audio, and then a bunch of other languages supported. I'm gonna put this on the follow list and see if people really like it. At some point, I very well should buy a Tetris-like game, and this could be that Tetris-like game, or very easily could not be the one.
The battle! The battle!
We still have, I'd say, about 20 or 30 games to go through. Next we have a game on Steam called London Detective Mysteria. This looks like it's a visual novel game from the look of it, from Xseed. So instead of watching the videos, let's flash through this. This feels like this very well may be an otome visual novel. There's a lot of female character, female gaze style animation here, in the sense that there's a lot of not particularly provocative looking females and very attractive looking male characters. It's not tagged anything as far as nudity or sexual content, so if there's any censorship in it, they're not even hinting at that. It has full Japanese audio and English as a support. It wants $26.99 discounted, which is a high expense certainly. Seems like this might be a Sherlock Holmes style story. But yeah, if this is a good visual novel, I'll put it on the follow list. We'll see. I'm not sure how many of the visual novels really need to be played, if any.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see. And then that.
Must move quickly.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Axis and Allies 1492 Online. This is already mixed. I believe there is a board game called Axis and Allies. Maybe Axis and Allies 1492. So, my question here, and I usually don't do this, is what's the problem with this game? $17.99 discounted. Third-party account, third-party end-user license agreement. And it probably plays terribly if I was to look at it too. The 20-year-old version looked nicer and played better. So apparently there was a 20-year-old version of this already on PC, which, yeah, I do believe, I think I recall an old Windows 95 game by this name. Well, I don't think that needs to be on the follow list then. Let's move on. Next we have a game on Steam called Visitor 2. It's probably a Chinese game if I was to guess. It's tagged FMV, Detective, and Violent. So it's like a murder mystery done in FMV. This might be a Korean game. Yeah, I could imagine doing a Korean interactive FMV story, because yeah, they make a lot of TV type things. Discounted $5.59. That's actually rather cheap. The question, I guess, would be, is this the sequel to something else? It probably is. It's full audio Chinese, so maybe it is Chinese after all, but it also supports Korean and English. Apparently is based on a real case. One murder mystery could be stretched out long enough to be the entirety of a game, I suppose.
Reporting for duty. Job done.
Let's see. Here we have The Visitor 1, just called Visitor. very positive for $3.99. And again, and this time it was English, Japanese, Chinese with full audio, and Korean. Well, I don't see a reason why this shouldn't go on the fall list. This is an interesting idea. More FMV games I would appreciate in general, and murder mystery stories and games are kind of lacking in general in the world of video games. There's not really a good reason. Sherlock Holmes games in particular have been bad for so long. I guess maybe that is probably part of this. Probably a bit of an issue there too. So yeah, I'll put the Visitor 1 on the wish list or fall list, and then if I get it and actually play it, then I would get the sequel and play that. That's the logical way to do things like this. TechRaptor has an article. Epic Games will allegedly not sell Skatebird because it isn't exclusive. Skatebird. Now, when I first read this, I thought it said inclusive, so that was a misreading. Founder of Glass Bottom Games, Megan Fox, announced on Twitter yesterday that their upcoming game Skatebird will not be listed on the Epic Games Store. The reason, according to Fox, is because Epic is, quote, focusing on exclusives on Skatebird, promised Steam keys in its Kickstarter, therefore nah. Which, that certainly falls in line. That makes sense, what she's saying. We've seen at least 3 or 4 games that were kickstarted and promised Steam keys and then said they weren't going to deliver Steam keys when the game was released at the Epic Store, or that they weren't going to release Steam keys at all and instead were going to release Epic Store keys. So the reason to go into and have that much backlash is probably from some amount of pressure coming from the Epic Store in directly. Now, I don't think Skatebird is the game that's going to bring down the Epic Store, but it is just another instance of there being drama around the game that really doesn't need or want drama. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Secret Government, a grand strategy title about secret societies, has been announced. This is from 1C Entertainment, partnering with a Russian developer Game Trek. A little bit of a video here. This looks like it's mostly a board game, though, in digital form. So there might be something of interest there, might not be. I don't know why there are so many people that try to make board games when they don't particularly seem to ever succeed that well. Let's see.
Deploying countermeasures.
We already talked about that, so we don't need to rehash that story. Gamatsu has an article. Boku to Nurse no Kenshu Nishi is coming to the Switch on Japan. A Japanese visual novel about you and a nurse, which the nurse fetish still seems to remain at its same level of strength as it always does. Which is kind of funny because I don't believe nurses anywhere in first world countries dress the way they are depicted in TV and anime at all. And they haven't for, I think, a very long time. There's probably nothing else to say about it other than it was released in August 2018 on a PlayStation Vita version, and March 2018 for a PC version, and the PS4 version was also August 2018. So it's been out for a lot of other things, and obviously is one of the more successful visual novels because they're re-releasing it for the Steam, not the Steam, but the Switch store. And it's just another indication that Nintendo is opening its doors to a lot of different types of games. Gamatsu has another article here. Tonari ni Kanojo no Iru Shiwasi 2 Farse is coming to the Switch on August 29th in Japan. It's a short visual novel out for the Nintendo eShop. I wish the phrase short visual novel was better expressed and categorized amongst visual novels, because I would be very happy to play short visual novels a lot more than long visual novels. Let's see. This game was first launched in August 2017, and then a PS4 version and Vita version came out in November 2017. So this is probably the same developer and publisher releasing both of those games. Re-releasing both of those games.
Converting stored energy
For justice.
If I get through all the news, I may have to play a little bit off screen just to get some victories. Because I need one more victory, I think, to get one daily quest done, and I probably will destroy enough minions to get the other quest done. We still have a handful of articles. TechRaptor has an article here. Beyond Two Souls review, Soulless Sister. Beyond Two Souls being a Quantic Dream game that came out a while ago, so I don't know why they're really reviewing it in particular now, unless it came to the Epic Store, which it might have. I think it did, yeah.
Let me think.
It wasn't great, certainly. I didn't need to look at TechRaptor's article to know that. So, let's see. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna survive that way. So, they gave it a 4.0 mediocre. Beyond Two Souls is an interactive drama action adventure with painfully inept writing. Ellen Page's top-notch acting can only carry it so far until it falls apart in a terminal inane climax. So this was the game that had actually Ellen Page in it. Meanwhile, the Last of Us game series had a character that looked extremely similar to Ellen Page, but was voiced by a different person, and Ellen Page did not sell a likeness as far as anybody can tell. And both of these games, both Last of Us 1 and Beyond Two Souls, came out about the same time. Pros outstanding acting, top tier motion capture, cons painfully inept writing, jumbled narrative structure, erratic controls and camera, poor use of interactive drama, thematically vacuous. I would, I guess, give some applaud to Life is Strange for at least not falling down the route of let's play some other thing that might win a little bit better. Let's try Mech Hunter. Life is Strange isn't great in its writing either, but I think it was better than Beyond Two Souls was. Now, I don't know Ellen Page's filmography particularly well, so I often question why people think she's actually a good actress. Just saying, I haven't seen the role that she did that made people think she was a good actress. She is in a Netflix series based on a weird comic book where she's this violinist with magical powers, and that's kind of a spoiler for the end, but whatever. I can't even remember the name of the Netflix series, and they were saying she was a great actress in that too, and I didn't see a performance there that I feel like explains that. So I need to look up her filmography. Now, in all fairness, I probably wouldn't say anybody is an amazingly great actor. I think, like, Liam Neeson, for the roles he's done, has done very well. I think The Rock is probably a great actor for the roles he does. But most other actors and actresses, they're not given good writing in most movies or TV shows anyway, so they're not given any chance to really perform to their maximum. So I wouldn't really name anybody as a great actor or actresses. I think a lot of it is just who you know and who owes you a favor gets you the jobs. And if Hollywood were an actual merit-based system, as far as whether you got the job or not, I think you could rather quickly find way better actors and actresses throughout the world than what we see. Next we have a game on Steam called Gravity Ball, which looks like it's kind of a Tron style game, but it's pretty low effort, and it would be player versus player even if it wasn't ugly looking. It's early access, it's $4.99, says it has single player, 20 achievements, English only. Yep, that's not a game that needs to be on my list. Right, can we do this so that my guy won't die? I can get it up to 5, or I can do this. Next we have a game on Steam called Crystal Defense, which looks like it's a first-person shooter asset flip game with tower defense elements, which does not improve the situation in one bit. Yeah, we have a rather large amount of troll games and low effort games coming out today, even by average standards, which usually you have a ton of troll games and low effort games. Crystal Defense is $9.99, not discounted, English only, 7 achievements. Yeah, not making it to the fall list. Let's see. And this. Next we have a game on Steam called Pilot Sports, which, is there enough of graphic fidelity in this? It's a Pilot Wings clone, clearly, and I'd love to see a Pilot Wings clone actually succeed. The visuals look a little bit rough, but not that rough. Seems like it might be playable. So I'm going to put this on the follow list. It's $19.99, bunch of language supported, 11 or 14 achievements, which is not too many if it is actually a real game. So it's just going to come down to people actually purchasing the game and reviewing it as to whether it's actually worth the time. Alright.
Protocol 7.
I think I've got a victory here, and if I can just quickly burn through the news, we might be able to finish here. TechRaptor has an article. Sniper Elite 3 Ultimate Edition hits the Switch with unique features in October. it's weird that yet another version of Sniper Elite is coming out. Sniper Elite in particular has had some weird ways in which they've released things, and what's that symbol? And yet, and then re-released versions of the game that people were not happy with. So, I don't know why you'd specifically want to play Sniper Elite on Switch, though. That seems like probably not your target audience platform. But maybe they're just trying to get a few more dollars, which I assume is exactly the case. Yeah, and I think we're good enough here. Like, I could try and play one more game, but I think we could just burn through the news. Actually, I'd need to play 3 more games, and that would take forever. So, let's just burn through the news. Lego Jurassic Park is putting out a announcement that that the Lego Jurassic Worlds game is coming to Nintendo Switch 9/17. I don't think this is a re-release in any way for the Lego Jurassic World launch. I think this is just the same game being ported to the Switch. Which that game was buggy and crashy on top of just the micro stuttering issue, I believe, and it really wasn't that good. So I don't know if they've redone anything or changed anything here, or if this isn't just an exact issue of them re-releasing the same game. And let's face it, this is what Lego does. This is that TT Games in particular, they re-release Lego games over and over again in pretty bad shapes on different platforms, and but it probably will run pretty smoothly on the Switch, and it might be a good indication that some of the other older games might be getting ported to the Switch. It would be nice if the other older games got a little bit of a remaster or a complete remake, but if the best you're going to get is just a new version on a newer platform that runs better, that's probably pretty good for you too. Checkcraft has an article, the indie horror game Dark, D-A-R-Q, gets a release date. Let's see, is there a video here on what this looks like? Looks like it's a weird platforming dark horror graphics, surreal graphics game. Okay. Is it coming out for the Switch? Or is it coming out for... It'll launch for Windows on Steam and on consoles eventually, it says. Alright, so we've got a hype article here about a game that might come out. Next we have a game called Bavak Chakra Mako, which sounds Russian and looks like a RPG Maker game of no quality whatsoever. Yeah, looks like garbage. It's early access, it's free, it's English only. Well, I don't know what to really say here. It's not even worth playing from the looks of it, if even at free. So, yeah, that's not making it to the wish list. Next, we have HVAC Simulator, another low-effort troll game, where maybe there's actually some beginning of an idea here as far as a game where you're in VR and you're installing an HVAC system. Although I don't know how many people actually would get inside the internals of your condenser or cooler or whatever the thing on the outside is. Compressor, maybe? I don't know how much of repair goes along that stuff versus just replacing. $9.99 and requires VR for no reason, and English only. visually this is not appealing. I wouldn't mind finding a game that would teach me more about how HVAC systems work, because they're kind of complicated, but that's not what this looks like this is. This looks like this is just a garbage game. Next we have a game on Steam called My University Story, which one has to assume was that My School Story then translated to University to age up all the characters. Possibly. It seems like there's very little here being shown in the screenshots as far as conversation, and more of it is focused around these menus. So this might be a life simulation game where you have to actually go to class and actually study and actually schedule your day around that. Which there definitely have been games, visual novel, dating games like that before. English is not supported, unfortunately. $2.67, and it's Chinese only. I do have to applaud, though, that this is a Chinese game where they are putting the female love interests up front, and they look well animated, unlike so many other Chinese games where it looks like there's barely anything and it's just a background. This actually looks like a game. So it's always nice to see when the Chinese games actually look like games and they're actually good. Game of Sutra has an article here. Switch driving sales at Nintendo as foreign exchange losses cut profits, which is to say that Nintendo is probably losing money due to tariffs from the US and China and such. But yeah, whatever. This is a story if you want to read it. I'm gonna skip it though. It's we're really not gonna have an end to the story as far as the Chinese-US tariff war until there's a new election or a new president at least. Let's see. Next story we have is a smartphone game. Gundam Battle Gunpla Warfare is now available if you want to play it on your smartphones. They have a intro trailer showing the characters that are making the Gunpla models, 3D model kits of Gundams, and then having them fight in this virtual war. Let's see. I don't know if you actually get to build a Gunpla more than you're just mixing and matching a custom looking skin on a character. See, the thing about model making is that it's really a hands-on activity. There's not a good way you're going to make that into a digital version and it actually feel like putting together an actual model. Next, Gematsu has an article. Splatoon 2 version 5.0 update is now available. Changes to private battle, gear, multiplayer, and salmon run. I believe this is either the last update or close to the last update that we're ever going to see for Splatoon 2. We'll just have to see if we ever see a Splatoon 3. There should be a Splatoon 3. There's a bunch of changes here. I really want to play Splatoon 1 and 2 at some point. I probably will only be allowed, by the time I get around to it, to play the single player experience, but that's probably going to be fine with me too. We already talked about that story. We don't need to talk about it again. Gematsu has an article. Adventure game Broken Delusion has been announced for the PS4, Switch, and PC. It's due out in 2019. This looks like it says it's an adventure game. Interesting. Wonder how that's going to actually play, because inherently everything looks like a visual novel if you're just looking at a still image and it's from Japan. So is it going to be a run around the streets in a dungeon crawler beat 'em up game? Is it going to be like a Persona game? Yeah, the trailer doesn't tell me anything. Let's see. Raising simulation, hacking simulations, and requests. Well, we'll get more information about it and we'll eventually know what it's about. Let's see, next one is tag sexual content, mature, and nudity. So let me just make sure these screenshots are YouTube friendly, and most of them are. Next, we have a game on Steam called Dating Life Miley x Emily. This is a, I guess, Yuri girl on girl style lesbian visual novel. Let's see what else is there to say about it. $3.59 discount seems really cheap. It's English only without the full audio. It's got 5 achievements. I imagine this will be a game that's not really worth it, but I'll put it on the fall list and just see how people react to it. I think that at that cheap price without full voice acting, it's probably not telling an interesting enough story, and so not really worth covering. Next, we have a game on Steam called Resistance is Fruitile, which is a top-down twin-stick shooter game where you're shooting fruit. The graphics look a little bit polished, but not enough to really interest me, and it's pretty dark, and it seems like it's pretty generic, where you're just in the same room over and over again. $8.99 discounted, English only. Yeah, I'm not impressed by that. Let's see. I don't think I'll be looking at my Twitter feed today, because we've gone long anyways. Next, we have a game called Pumpkin Days, which is tagged as an RPG and simulation game. It looks like it is a Stardew Valley clone. I don't know how many of these I really need to put on the follow list, but I guess there is a level of effort being put here. These might be pre-bought 3D models, almost certainly they are, but this looks better than most Stardew Valley clones. It's early access, it's $14.99, it's asking a lot. Third party EULA, English. I'll put it on the follow list and we'll see. But I do have to balance that against not really liking those kinds of games. Next, we have a game on Steam called Elon Simulator 2019, which is another very low effort troll game. Not worth your time. Early access for free, bunch of language supported. Seems like they probably just clicked all the boxes, and this is totally not true. No way somebody's giving out a game where they have full voice acting for 5 different languages. But obviously this is just a troll game. And again, why are people doing that? And then what seems to be the exact same developer, maybe they're going by different names, but it's pretty obvious it's the same person or organization doing this, released Elon on Mars, which is the exact same game, just slightly changed. Again, early access, this time for 59 cents discounted, claiming all the languages and 9 achievements. So yeah, troll games are plentiful today. Next, we have a game on Steam called Artifact Adventure Gaiden DX, which looks like it is a game trying to sell itself on retro visuals, but it also looks like it's not very good. So yeah, one more of those kind of games. $8.99 discounted, English and Japanese and Chinese. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a Chinese game, although AGM Playism is publishing it, so who knows. I have really just 3 more things, and then the Humble Bundle. Next we have a game on Steam called Sephiroms of Asteris. This looks like a actual game with Mobile Suit style Gundams, and while this looks a little bit asset flippy, there might actually be enough of a game here to actually be interesting. Screenshots look nice. It'll be a matter of the gameplay. This is early access. It's $7.49. English only. Odd that it's English only again. Why would you have a mecha game that's English only? I'll put this on the follow list just in case it comes out of early access and is actually good. Gametsu has an article here. The roguelike deck building card game Phantom Rose for PC launches August 7th. Play as a maid in search of her lost master. And this seems very anime for a deck building card game. So this is probably a Slay the Spire style game that maybe I could play, maybe I couldn't. It's really one of those games where there's that danger of playing it for 20 hours and then there's at the very end you run into something that's one sex scene or one nude scene. We can see it on Steam and it's not out yet, so that's why we haven't covered it yet. But, it's probably too dark of a game too. It feels like it's just adding lewdness to a deck building card game, but then doing it in a dark way that doesn't really appeal to everyone. This may not be going on still, but TechRaptor had an article. Rise, Son of Rome's microtransactions are currently free for some reason. Now, the Steam version did not have microtransactions before, but if you had the Xbox One or Windows 10 version from the Windows Store, you apparently could purchase those for free. I don't know if anybody cares about Rise Son of Rome. That was a pretty failed launch title for the Xbox One, and maybe they're just trying to be real generous with it, or maybe somebody just misprogrammed something and nobody cares to even bother to fix it, or maybe they're running some kind of secret sale and people have forgotten about it. So we do have a Humble Bundle, new Humble Bundle, Crusader Kings 2 bundle. If you're interested in Crusader Kings 2 content, of which there seems to be quite a bit, you can buy that. It's kind of a single focused game though, so just knowing that there is that much DLC and content that you could own for one game scares me away from that game more than it convinces me to really buy it. And I guess that means I missed the bundle that I wanted to buy that had Shanti in it. I don't know if I really would recommend buying ebooks from the Humble Bundle store, but they have a Jim Henson's and Friends bundle that is giving you episode 1 of a lot of things, a lot of Jim Henson style stories, but also I would say that you're probably only getting episode 1 or 2 and not the full series of anything. And you're probably only getting ebooks for it. They're not going to mail you actual books. This is apparently from Boom Studios, which I've never heard of. And then that just brings me back to my Twitter feed, and I think for this Wednesday we can just risk it and say if there's any big news I'm gonna miss it. That's gonna be it for the stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.